Hello and welcome back to Vox Terra. Today's show, raging wildfires throughout so much of the planet, seemingly increasing every year, and indeed they are. Hawaii, California, the American West, the Canadian West, Turkey, Greece, the list goes on, Siberia. Yet the media, only in passing now, connects the dots back to what was initially fossil fuel driven climate change. Meanwhile, there's a whole subset of climate denying trolls who spend their time going around spreading fringe science. Therefore, today I will cite you from NASA as well as the Union of Concerned Scientists to give you some good stats so you can understand and articulate the climate change mechanisms that others are not. But first, let me dispense with the forest management argument, an argument you often hear put out there by those trying to protect status quo, business as usual. It's actually environmentalists' fault because they're the ones trying to stop us from logging, and because of all these trees, now the fires are burning more. Look, these wildfires are increasing in areas that humans have never touched. One. Two, it's actually environmental organizations that have called for allowing for controlled burns and nature to take its course over the decades. It's also environmental organizations that warned about building into fire-prone areas. So it is not heating environmentalists that have caused the trouble, not the other way around. From the Union of Concerned Scientists, listen to this. Snowpack in the American West melts up to 4 times earlier than in previous decades, leading to drier conditions. Okay, so the snowpack in the American West, going back to 2019, this site, but they can cite it even earlier, melts up to 4 times earlier than in previous decades, leading to drier conditions in the West. NASA 2019, since 1880, that's the start of the Industrial Revolution, the world has warmed by 1.9 degrees Fahrenheit, with the 5 warmest years on record occurring in the last 5 years. Okay, hotter biosphere, hotter atmosphere, hotter oceans since the Industrial Revolution. The American West is 1.9 degrees hotter since the 1970s. The American West, this is Union of Concerned Scientists again, is 1.9 degrees hotter since the 1970s. So the American West has actually been heating up more than the rest of the planet, or more than other parts of the United States, at least. Wildfire season, this is back to NASA, wildfire season has lengthened across a quarter of the world's vegetated surfaces. Remember this one. Wildfire season has lengthened across a quarter of the world's vegetated surfaces. Okay, it's not your imagination. It's more wildfires now. And in some places like California, fire has become nearly a year-round risk. And just to dispel with this forest management only explanation, that NASA article also points out Siberia and Alaskan wildfires due to heat and dry. Since 2015, this is a shocker of a statistic that everybody should know but doesn't. Since 2015, the United States has experienced, on average, roughly 100 more large wildfires every year than the year before. Did you hear that? Since 2015, the United States has experienced, on average, roughly 100 more large wildfires every year than the year before. Wow, shouldn't everybody know that? Shouldn't everyone in the news be talking about that? The number, the intensity, and the length of wildfire season and the range of wildfires have all increased and are increasing. That was your stats. Now to the mechanisms. As we said, that earlier winter snowpack leads to drier conditions. The hotter, drier conditions set the stage for wildfire, either by human ignition or lightning. And lightning, interestingly, too, is connected back to climate change, as NASA points out. Lightning is driven by heat. The Union of Concerned Scientists also points out other climate factors, droughts, unusual rain patterns, insect outbreaks that lead to large stands of dead trees. All make the conditions for wildfire more likely. So let's look at the large stands of dead trees due to insect outbreaks. Well, here's the factors. The hotter atmosphere is stressing the trees, making them more vulnerable. 2, the winters don't get as cold as they used to on average, and the nights don't cool down as much, allowing for some of these insects like the western bark beetle and some of the ticks to gain a greater foothold. Now, I know the ticks are a threat to humans' health, but the bark beetle is a threat to the trees. Hence we see these big stands of dead trees, which are again more wildfire prone. Sick, weak forests. The unusual rainfall patterns and the droughts, the climate mechanism. Well, as NASA pointed out, and I showed in other videos, the water cycle is accelerating due to the hotter atmospheric conditions, just pulling more of the water out of the soil and the vegetation, holding on to it, and it's falling down in heavier rainfall or just staying dry longer. Then you've got that weakening jet stream and weakening oceanic currents, which used to moderate the Earth's temperature, allowing for some of these hot air masses, or any air mass for that matter, to linger in place longer and just drying and heating, or just pounding rains. Now and that increased water cycle also creates the conditions by, you've got heavy rainfall leads to a vegetative spurt, then dry condition, everything dries out, and then the fire. The hotter nights make it harder to battle wildfires because they're not getting that cooling at night like you used to. And those drier conditions out west in the Rockies is shown at NOAA to be happening. The west is getting drier, and that's with the heat is another self-fulfilling loop. What happens is, as the west gets hotter, that heat evaporates all the moisture. Now there's less moisture, so then the heat begins to heat the soil and the vegetation, pulling even more moisture out, and the west is getting hotter and drier than the east. And finally, this is why I always say fossil fuel initiated climate change, because the wildfires themselves now are becoming contributors to carbon in the atmosphere, which in turn holds more heat in the atmosphere and the oceans. Well, hey, I hope you found these climate mechanisms super helpful, and if you did, please make sure you are subscribed to my channel. You've clicked that notification bell, you are liking, you are commenting. And until next time, peace be with you.